David looked like a man who had everything. Success followed him everywhere. People admired him, friends envied him, opportunities seemed to find him without effort. From the outside, his life looked perfect. But every night, when the crowds disappeared and the noise faded away, David faced a reality no one else could see. He felt empty. No amount of money could fill it. No achievement could silence it. No success could satisfy it. Deep inside, something was missing. One evening, after another successful day, David stood before his mirror and stared at his reflection. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he whispered a question he had been avoiding for years. Why am I really here? The room remained silent. But heaven had already heard him. That night, sleep refused to come. The room was dark and unusually still. Then suddenly, a voice broke the silence. David. His eyes opened instantly. He sat upright. His heart raced. Then the voice came again. I have called you. A strange light briefly filled the room. David searched every corner. No one was there. Yet he knew he had heard something real. The experience frightened him. So he did what many people do when God begins calling them. He ran, not with his feet, with his life. He became busier than ever. More work, more meetings, more distractions, more chasing after success. But no matter how hard he tried to ignore it, the voice continued. In quiet moments, during long drives, late at night, the whisper always returned. I have called you. Then everything began to fall apart. Business deals failed. Relationships became strained. Doors started closing. The confidence that once defined him slowly disappeared. One rainy evening, David sat alone in defeat. For the first time in years, he stopped pretending to be strong. Looking into the storm, he cried out, God, if you are real, where are you? The sky thundered above him. But there was no answer. At least, not immediately. The next morning, David found himself walking into a small church. He didn't know why. He wasn't even sure he wanted to be there. But something drew him in. As he sat quietly, an elderly pastor stood to preach. Then he spoke words that struck David's heart. Holiness is not about perfection. It is about belonging completely to God. David froze. Those words changed everything. For years, he believed God only wanted perfect people. Now he was hearing that God wanted surrendered people. That night, David had a dream. He stood between two roads. One road was wide and beautiful. It promised wealth, fame, comfort, and pleasure. The other road was narrow and difficult. At the end of it stood a giant cross glowing against the horizon. Then the voice returned. Choose this day whom you will serve. David looked at both paths. One offered temporary satisfaction. The other offered eternal purpose. Slowly, he stepped toward the cross. As he did, the light revealed every hidden part of his life. Every failure, every regret, every wound. Overwhelmed, he fell to his knees. Tears streamed down his face. Lord, take my life, I am yours. In that moment, something broke. Not his spirit, his chains. A peace he had never known flooded his heart. For the first time in years, he felt truly free. The months that followed transformed his life. He began praying, reading scripture, serving others, helping those in need, sharing hope with the broken. People noticed the change, not because David became perfect, but because he finally discovered purpose. Soon he realized something important. Purpose is not about what you gain. Purpose is about who you become and how many lives you help along the way. As his faith grew, so did the challenges. Old friends mocked him. Temptations returned. People questioned his decisions. Yet David remained faithful. Then came his greatest test. False accusations spread against him. Rumors damaged his reputation. People doubted his integrity. Everything he had worked for seemed to be collapsing once again. One night, discouraged and exhausted, David knelt in prayer. "Lord, I followed you. Why is this happening?" Heaven seemed silent. But this time, David did not run. He stayed. He trusted. He believed. And in time, the truth came out. The lies were exposed. The accusations failed. What had been hidden was brought into the light. The same people who doubted him now respected him. The same people who criticized him now listened to his story. Standing before a crowd, David shared the lesson that had changed his life forever. God didn't call me to be famous. The room became silent. He called me to be holy. Years later, David stood before a giant cross as the sun rose across the horizon. Golden light filled the sky. He looked back over his journey. The victories, the failures, the tears, the miracles. And finally, he understood. God was never preparing him merely for success. God was preparing him for purpose, for holiness, for impact, for eternity. As he lifted his eyes toward heaven, he heard the voice one final time. "Well done." In that moment, David realized that the greatest achievement in life is not wealth, fame, or recognition. The greatest achievement is answering the call of God. The call to live differently. The call to live faithfully. The call to live holy. And that same call is still echoing today. Not only for David, for every person listening. Because somewhere beyond the noise of this world, a voice is still speaking. A voice is still calling. A voice is still whispering. "I have called you." The question is not whether God has a purpose for your life. The question is, will you answer? Be holy because I am holy. 1 Peter 1:16.